There's a sentence that has won more arguments while meaning absolutely nothing than any other sentence in the language. I did my own research, and it's supposed to sound rigorous, independent, like the person is a free thinker who doesn't just swallow what they're told. Here's what it actually means, 9 times out of 10. I watched some videos that agreed with what I already wanted to believe. Let's define the word they're hiding behind, because they're counting on you not looking too closely at it. Research. Real research means you go looking for information that might prove you wrong. That's the entire point of it. You start with a question, not an answer. You form a guess, and then you genuinely try to break it. You go hunting for the strongest argument against yourself, and if it wins, you change your mind. That's the deal. That's what makes it research, and not just opinion with homework. What these people do is the exact opposite. In every step, they don't start with a question, they start with the conclusion, the one that feels good, the one that makes them special, the one that means they personally are smarter than every expert alive. And then they go shopping. They type into the search bar, scroll past everything that disagrees, and stop the second anything agrees with them. Then they close the laptop and announce they did the research. That's not research. That's confirmation with extra steps. It's a scavenger hunt where you already decided what's in the box before you started looking, and you just keep searching until you find that box. I did my own research almost never means I investigated. It means I found one stranger on the internet who told me I was right, and now me and him are a team. And here's the part that should really get under your skin, the arrogance buried in that little phrase. Because think about what they're actually claiming. When someone says, I did my own research, what they are really saying is, I, in an afternoon, on my phone, in between other tabs, figured out something that thousands of people who spent their entire lives on this question somehow completely missed. Sit with the size of that. A doctor spends over a decade training before anyone lets them touch a patient. A scientist can spend 30 years, an entire career, on a single narrow question, surrounded by other people spending their careers checking his work. And someone who watched a 20-minute video with dramatic music and a guy pointing at a whiteboard goes, yeah, I looked into it. They're all wrong. I figured it out. It's not curiosity. It is the exact opposite of curiosity. And this is the thing people get backwards. A genuinely curious person asks more questions. This person has stopped asking. They didn't go digging to learn something. They went digging for ammunition. For the feeling of being the one guy in the room who sees through it all while everyone else is asleep. Real research makes you less certain and more careful, because the more you learn, the more you see how much you don't know. Their research makes them more certain and a whole lot more insufferable. That's the tell. That's how you know it was never research, because research humbles you, and whatever they did turned them into a fucking prophet. So here's how you flush it out, cleanly, every time. You don't argue, you don't bring counterfacts, you ask them one question. What would change your mind? That's it, and watch what happens. A person who actually looked into something can answer that instantly. Honestly, if I saw this specific data, or if this study came back the other way, I'd reconsider. Because they've been to the edges of what they believe. They know where it's weak. They've stress tested it themselves. Their belief has a door in it. The I did my own research person, that one question breaks them. Because the honest answer is nothing. Nothing would change their mind. There is no fact, no study, no expert, no piece of evidence on earth that could move them a single inch. And the second you realize that, the whole costume falls off, because a conclusion that no evidence could ever change was never a conclusion they reached through research. It's a conclusion they showed up with and then dressed in a lab coat so nobody could question it without looking like the closed-minded one. And that right there is the actual function of the phrase. It was never about the research. I did my own research as a wall. It means this conversation is over, I win, and if you keep pushing, you're the sheep. It's built to end the discussion while making you look like the one who won't think for themselves. It is the only kind of research in human history that ends with more certainty, fewer questions, and exactly zero sources, which means it isn't research at all. It's a feeling wearing a lab coat, holding a clipboard, hoping you don't ask to see the clipboard. And here's why this phrase matters more than the others, why it's worth calling out specifically. Because I did my own research doesn't just make someone annoying at dinner. It's the phrase that lets people talk themselves out of anything, medicine, experts, basic facts, and feel smart while doing it. It flatters you. That's the trap. It tells you that your afternoon on YouTube is equal to someone's 30-year career, that trusting no one is the same as thinking for yourself, that being contrarian is the same as being right. It takes the good instinct, question things, don't blindly obey, and quietly swaps it for a bad one. Trust nothing except the thing that makes you feel clever. Real independent thinking is harder than that, not easier. It means sometimes doing the work and discovering you were wrong. It means being able to say the experts are probably right about this one and I'm not going to pretend otherwise to feel special. Thinking for yourself and refusing to ever be convinced of anything are not the same thing. One is a skill, the other is just stubbornness that learned to use the word research. So the next time someone hits you with, I did my own research, don't take the bait, and start firing studies at them, they don't care about studies, that was never the game, and you'll just be the sheep in their story. Ask the one question instead. What would change your mind? If they can answer, good. You're talking to someone who actually thinks, someone with a door in their belief. Stay. You might both learn something. If the question makes them angry, you've found someone who confused Googling their own feelings with knowing something, and no fact you own is ever getting through that wall. Don't waste the afternoon. Just file it and move on. I did my own research isn't the beginning of a debate. It's the sound of a door being locked from the inside by someone who's calling it an open mind.